that can just walk in to your business and start doing the roles that you want to step away from so you can spend more time, especially with the market, with interest rate rising, in terms of to free yourself up to focus on adding value to the market, to really lead, to be that thought leader, to take market share, and you really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to present themselves in this market. We need to free ourselves from being in the roles within the business, and the way to do that is to have empowered staff that become truly partners within our team. So today I wanted to talk about, if we can't really find that right person, or even if we do find that right person that has the right skills, how do we make sure that in the first 90 days, our onboarding and training are going to set us up for success? Because Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And you really define the culture from the first moment that staff member walks in the door. And this on-ramp, in terms of that service proposition that you're providing to your staff member, is going to determine how they serve your clients as well, and how you can make them a trusted partner so you have the confidence to let go of that control. And I know all of us like to hold on the control. It's probably why we've resisted sort of getting the team members or letting certain parts of our roles for so long. But this is why it's so important to have this real good 90-day on-ramp. So let's get into it and let's talk about the on-ramp and what it actually looks like. So if we look at this, and again, if you want a copy of this, just type on-ramp into the chat for me and I'll make sure we get a copy of it over to you. But in terms of looking at the first 90 days, so if we have a look at this and say, okay, well, we're going to define what those first 90 days look like, right? So this is the first 90 days, and I guess we can break it down into 3 areas, right? So one's here, another one's about here, and then we've got, so the first is, what's going to happen in the first 30 days? What's going to happen within the first 30 days? What's going to happen in 30 to 60 days? And what's going to happen 60 to 90 days? And really, let's draw this out so you're really clear in terms of the steps involved. So what it comes down to, and what I mentioned, is what we really want to build is we really want to build that great culture, right? We really want to build that great culture. And the culture starts down here. It starts from day one in terms of really looking at, well, what is that induction process that I'm going to take the clients through? What does the induction look like? Because this is going to be really, really key. And when we look at, what are the key parts of the induction that we need to cover, obviously we need to cover a number of things. If we look at it, we need to cover, what is that vision of the business that you've got? And that's so important to get them on board with your vision. What is your vision? What is your values? Again, something that we work a lot within the program on, with both the Elite and my Accelerator program, is really defining what are those key values. What's the checklist of all the little things that need to be set up for them? Emails, logins, all the different tech. So what's the checklist of stuff that we need to take them through? A bit about you and your history, and why that's important and why they should care. And then obviously just the general office basics, like, what time should they be there? How do they pick up the phone? How to use the machines and so forth. And then, what's the technology that we use? What are the things? So these are the things a great induction should cover. Once we've also, the next thing they want to know is we want to be really clear on, well, what are they here to do, right? So another way to put that is, what are their expectations that you have? Because setting these straight up and being really clear on that means that everyone's on the same page. So in terms of looking at that, we go, okay, what are those roles and responsibilities that you want them to do? And again, we run through this in detail. And again, I think that's right. In terms of when we look at this is, what does success look like within the business? What does success look like in their role? And this is key. This is really important around what does success look like. Who are they going to report to? Who are their reports? What are they here to do? What are the key functions? What am I here to do? And how will I be measured, right? How will I be measured in terms of what that is? So again, we want to be really clear. We don't want to have assistants within our business. We want to have partners, and we want them to own their roles and own their responsibilities. There's nothing worse than having an assistant, because it means that we're still involved in the whole process. We want to really clearly define that role so we can have those handover points, which is the true thing that frees us up within a business. So then once we've really gone through and understand the expectations and what they're here to do, we've got to prepare them so they can actually do that. So this is where the prep comes involved in terms of the next step, and looking at, right, what is the prep that's involved in actually getting these guys ready to do it. And this is where understanding what that development plan is. And again, we give examples in our program of what this 90-day development plan should look like, with all the steps and all those things that need to be worked on. So what are the things that we want to see? And again, really rewarding at this point in time. You're working really, really closely, and you've probably never felt so busy in your life at this point in time, because you're, not only doing their role, but you're really working closely with them on creating the right behaviors and showing what the positive behaviors are and also what the negative behaviors are. At this point in time, as I said, the 90-day plan is crucial. So then going up the steps from here, what we want them to do once we've got the development plan, then we want them to implement that plan. We want them to actually to really start building on that. So really, if we summarize that first 30 days, it's really to define the purpose, right? Define the purpose and define the plan. That's what we're doing in the first. The next phase is around, all right, we've got to build them. We've got to build them up so they're confident, so they can run their role, and they can do it in a way where they've got competency. So this is all around, to build them up, it's all around building their skills. Similar to the best sports team, do the basics really, really well. We want to focus on really their skill building and building the skills that are going to help them within their business, within your business, and to be the most successful on their role. At this point in time, again, during that first 6 weeks, that first 60 days, you're going to spend a bit more time with them, or one of your team member, whoever's reporting. you're going to spend a bit more time one-on-one. And it's really important that you do that. You have them spending time one-on-one, whether they shadow you or you're working directly with them in terms of to show them so they they can really be aware, right? And what we're focusing on here is starting with the things that are core. What are the 80-20 rule? What are those sort of 20% of activities that are going to give us the 80% of the results? So really focus on what the core competencies of their role are, and let's focus on developing the core first so we can at least get them up and running and they can add value as that trusted partner that we want. So then later on, again, normally it's around about sort of 6 weeks, then they start really adding value to you and to the business, because, you know, with this, they get up to speed really, really quickly. And for example, a couple of my elite clients that we've done this process with, they've had credit analysts that have come in with very little credit experience. We've gone through this process, we've done this training, and they've been up to this stage where they can independently work and really add value, right? So at this point in time, we want to make them independent. And again, there's going to be less sort of one-on-one type coaching, but they're still going to be, at this point in time, they're still going to feel very, very supported. You're going to be checking in on a regular basis. But at the same time, we want to start to give off some of that control. And again, let them make some mistakes, and because ultimately that's how they will learn. So we need them to be, you know, a little bit trusted at that point in time as well. So once we've got to this point where, you know, they're obviously at the point where we're building them up, we hit the next level where, you know, we've got to let them free, and now they're actually going to do the role that we intended them to do, and they're going to be accountable, right? So going back, if we, you know, look at this part, they're learning the skills. This is where they're all about learning. Then, you know, once they're starting to implement what they've learned at this point, and then once they've learned, they're starting to, this is the point where we can really make them accountable. And the KPIs that we sort of set, this is where they start to come into play, right? So if it's a credit analyst, a lot of my elite clients may have, you know, the KPI that they need to get one loan lodged and one set of documents out every day, right? That's an example of a KPI. So we've got to, in our daily sort of meetings, start to look at, all right, what are the KPIs that they're achieving, and are they accountable to those? At this point in time, this is when we also review, right? We review how have we tracked in terms of, you know, based on plan, how have we tracked? So we want to do a review of where we're at, and then we want to reset the next sort of 90 days in terms of, you know, what we're doing and how we're doing it. I think if you follow this process, and again, so some of you, you may have left the hiring too late and you go, how am I going to possibly have the time to do all this? But, you know, in terms of what is the whole quote, you know, what if I train them and they leave? What if you don't train them and they stay, right? So somebody that isn't properly onboarded and doesn't follow this sort of onboarding is going to take a lot longer to develop. You are going to be involved in their life a lot longer than, rather than being a trusted partner, they're going to become a task-based assistant, which is not what we want. If we want to have that ability to spend time with our family, to focus on the other things, to make sure that we're taking advantage of the market and being that market leader when rates are going up, we want to be the trusted advisor that's going to take market share and be able to explain things simply to our clients. So we're not suffering from a downturn, that we're actually thriving in a downturn. And by having team members that you can rely on is going to be key for you to be able to do that. So in the guide, I've also provided a couple of summaries in terms of what that means, what are the key things that you can do. So as I say, type in the chat on-ramp, and I'll make sure we get you a copy of this. I hope this has been valuable. As I say, in terms of let's start planning. There's a quote here in terms of if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So let's make sure that now, before the rate increases really kick in and we start to see that drop in the property market, let's really start to get the team in while we know that we've got the cash flow coming in for the next couple of months. Let's make some plans. Let's have the courage to put that person on, so we can make sure that we can really lead our market and really be on the front foot and not be swimming naked when the tide goes out. I'm Ross LeCain, as I say, founder of the $1 Billion Broker. I hope you've enjoyed this, and here's to creating a profitable business that you are proud of. Thanks, guys.